All right, then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Victorious Ones podcast, the place where gaming meets comics, meets sports, meets movies, as well as inspiration. Of course, I'm your host, King Von Jr. You can follow me on social media on Twitter at 301 King Von Jr. You can follow me on Instagram at Mr. King Von, on Instagram at Mr. King Von Jr. You can follow Junior. You can follow the show's social media pages, of course, on Twitter at VictoryPod1, also on Instagram at Victorious Ones Podcast. Of course, I'm also a social media producer for the unpopular viewed wrestling shows Perfect Flex Talk Radio, hosted by Mike Knox at 6 p.m. on Mondays. And so, of course, I'm going to go into, of course, the week in wrestling, in terms of the things that I like, the things that I wasn't really a fan of. Like I said, from SmackDown, Raw, as well as NXT. And so of course, I'm trying to figure out what's going on when it comes to some of the Facebook streaming for whatever reason. I'm trying to link it to my main, my main podcast page. But yeah, like I said, hopefully I should be joined, but of course by sorry about that. Should be joined by a guest pretty soon. But yeah, you know what I mean. So of course, like I said, this pretty much, pretty much a lot to get into, and so I want to make sure that that this definitely like I'm going across, my groups, my group's Facebook page, what I mean. So, but yeah, like I said, in terms of the week in wrestling in and of itself, like I say, it's certainly, like I said, it's certainly been pretty epic. And of course, more ways than one. And, of course, congratulations to Trick Williams, of course, for being, for becoming the new NXT champion. And like I said, when it comes to the draft, there's definitely, like I say, a shake up in more ways than one. And you know what I mean. So all right, then. Yeah, we should be, should get some type of views. But yeah, like I say, just in regards to the the WWE draft, I'm going to give a recap of that. I'm going to give a recap, or at least my thoughts about last week's episode, of X-Men '97. And of course, I just got finished watching this week's episode, but I don't want to give any spoilers away because of the fact that this week's episode came on today. Because the fact that every episode comes, each episode comes on every Wednesday. And so, of course, I don't want to be the one to give out spoilers, but I am giving people at least 24 hours notice, to watch it. Otherwise, hey, get ready for spoilers away. But yeah, like of course, in terms of the week in wrestling, it was all about, really, like I said, the main thing, it was all about the WWE draft. And so, and give my recap of it as well as well as the end. It's just like, like I said, not much to really write, to really sort of like, I guess, write home about, if you will. And so, so like I said, I'm just waiting for my guests to come on. Like I said, I've already sent, so, like I said, yeah, like I said, I definitely sent the link to him. But yeah, sometimes just things like that happen. But yeah, like I said, in regards to that, like I said, the show must go on. I'm going to go into the WWE draft results. Like I said, this is nothing but draft week. You know what I mean? And let me see. Like I said, I'm going. Like I said, pretty much, the main thing about the week of wrestling, was about the WWE draft, and it was all across. Like I said, as far as Friday night as well as Monday night, Friday night SmackDown, like I said, as well as Monday Night Raw. And so I'm looking for the overall results of just the WWE, like the WWE draft, and I would say that it wasn't too much, like too many. Like surprises or anything like that. It wasn't a whole lot to really, to really sort of walk away with. So Let me see it like this. All right. So of course, in regards to, um, that like, Slam. Mm-hmm. So like I said, with the first overall pick, I've seen that the main thing is the first overall pick in this year's WWE Draft went to SmackDown and went to none other than the EST herself, Bianca Belair. And so, what I mean? So of course, actually here it is, every 2024 WWE Draft pick. But yeah, of course, like I said, whenever, like I said, Islam, um, in that regard. As a matter of fact, that full rundown right here, courtesy of WWE.com. And so of course, in round one, in each round, there's like 4 picks, and so yes, it's like I say, in each round there's four picks. In round one, the first overall pick for SmackDown was the EST herself, Bianca Belair. The second overall pick in the draft for Raw was went to Raw for Jey Uso. And the third overall pick for the WWE Draft went to SmackDown for none other than Carmelo Hayes. Fourth overall pick, Seth freaking Rollins, still staying on Raw. In fact, it doesn't really feel complete if I don't have the hat right now. Here. All right, that feels way better. But anyway, like I said, SmackDown's first overall pick is Bianca Belair, the EST. Of course, the second overall pick was Jey Uso, the Monday Night Raw. Third overall pick, Carmelo Hayes, the first NXT call up. He goes from NXT to SmackDown. I mean, it was main roster bound anyway, so hey, it was only a matter of time. So now, for Monday Night Raw, Seth freaking Rollins stays on Raw. Then round two, the next pick in the draft goes to SmackDown and went to Randy Orton. Of course, as far as Raw, of course, Braun Breaker makes makes a transition to Monday Night Raw. SmackDown gets Nia Jax, and Raw gets Liv Morgan. Sorry about that. But yeah, let me see. So, all right. Hold on. Be right back. Won't be long. There you go. Like I said, didn't take long, but yeah, like I said, I'm just giving the rundown. Of course, as far as to kick off round two, SmackDown gets Randy Orton, Raw gets Braun Breaker. Of course, SmackDown gets Nia Jax, so we had the possibility, had the possibility of a female, join the bloodline finally. Like I said, Raw gets Liv Morgan. I'm going to say Liv Morgan, but still mid anyway. But yeah, of course, it was great to see, Nia get the W, in a sort of a send-off match, if you will. But yeah, of course, that opens doors. So of course, you're gonna have have your exceptions, if you will. And then as far as round three, SmackDown gets LA Knight, and we're still on SmackDown. Raw gets Ricochet. Of course, SmackDown gets the Bloodline itself, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and Paul Heyman. And and of course, there was also an announcement that Roman Reigns had excused himself from being drafted, so he's still exclusively with SmackDown. So as a matter of fact, he does his best work on SmackDown anyway. He's become one of SmackDown's greatest stars of all time, and of course, Raw gets Sheamus. And like I said, not too much of a shakeup going on. Yeah. Oh, that's my portable charger. Yeah, I have to keep it on as portable charger. Sorry about that, but yeah, of course, like I said, yeah, but of course, like I said, the views are definitely going up right now. I think that's definitely great to see. But yeah, like I said, of course, SmackDown gets LA Knight. Raw gets Ricochet. Or at least he stays on Raw. And of course, congratulations to Ricochet for getting his own exclusive titles, like the Speed Champion or something like that. So like internet, title or whatever, if you will. Of course, he stays on Raw, and of course, along with Samantha Irvin as well. bonus. Of course, like I said, SmackDown gets the Bloodline, and Roman is definitely standing on the Bloodline is one of SmackDown's greatest stars, and it makes perfect sense. Like I said, Sheamus is still on Raw. So if a storyline they want to do with him and Drew, I guess after CM Punk, it's just like hey, go after it, have at it. In round 4, SmackDown gets the phenomenal AJ Styles, stays on there, to sort of feud with LA Knight. Raw gets the Alpha Academy, Chad Gable, Otis, Akira Tozawa, and Maxine Dupree all get drafted together to stay on Raw. Chad just straight up called a bunch of losers like last week. And of course, SmackDown gets Andrade. Raw gets Kiana James from NXT. So the only few shakeups, like in regards to like cross brand shakeups or whatever. But the main thing that the main ones that are moving up are people from NXT, whether to SmackDown or Raw. And of course, as announced on social media on Friday night, SmackDown also got the OC of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. They also got Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, along with Ashanti the Adonis, who was formerly part of Hit Row. And of course, Raw gets Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn, and Ivar. So that was on night 1. And then night 2, round 1 for night 2, Raw gets Imperium. Of course, with that being Gunther and, of course, mainly Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. Ludwig Kaiser. I hope I'm saying his name right. SmackDown keeps Jade Cargill, so that way, keep her and Bianca together, and they're bound to become the women's tag team champions anyway. Raw gets damage control, Io Sky, Asuka, Kairi Sane, and Dakota Kai. So you already know the belts are coming off them. And as a matter of fact, the roster change is effective after Backlash. So, of course, you got to see, of course, we're going to see those tag titles get taken off damage control, and therefore, that automatically ends the feud with Bayley and damage control by way of the draft, right? And of course, SmackDown gets Kevin Owens. Hold on. Let's see if there's got anybody coming up. Oh, as a matter of fact, coming to the stage right now, of course, my very first guest, like I said, the official guest of 2024, by the way of StreamYard, of course, none other than my man DJ G Mills, Greg Miller. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Vaughn, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. How about you, man? Of course, the founder of DMV Wrestling Fans Group. Let me introduce everybody to my man Greg. One of DMV Zone and a huge fan of WWE. So Greg, of course, I'm giving a recap of the WWE Draft. So I want to know what were your thoughts as far as this year's draft.
As far as this year's draft, what I'm thinking is maybe the format needs to change a little bit. I think.
Yeah, I think your screen's frozen. I don't know what's up with that.
The same. A lot of people were ending up on the same brand, or it was just very familiar. It was just very familiar with obvious picks like Bianca Belair or Jade Cargill staying on SmackDown. We knew that the champions weren't in play, so there was no like big moves there. It was almost like I don't know. It was almost like everything was kind of like in place or whatever without a couple moves. But I like the fact that the NXT call-ups were part of the draft. I think that's really what made the draft, in my opinion. That felt like a draft. Everything else just felt like, okay, like a little trade here. I'm glad Shinsuke's on SmackDown. I don't know what they're going to do with them, but it's there's opportunity. There's opportunity for new matches, new matchups, and everything. But as far as the draft format goes, I just think that it was okay. Like I'm not saying it was bad. It was just like, oh, all right,
Yeah, like pretty much like that'll do. You know what I mean? And pretty much of course in that regards is like whatever. Like it wasn't too many surprises or changes, anything like that, anything like ground shaking or earth shatter or anything like that. Like like wow, what in the world is this? You know what I mean? Like it's pretty much the same old, other than people moving from NXT to the main roster. It's just a matter of where they're gonna go. Carmelo, I think he was a nice fit on SmackDown. As far as Dragunov, he'd be great when it comes to facing Gunther. Once again to rekindle that rivalry.
Yeah, those picks are exciting.
Yeah, they are.
Those picks are definitely exciting. Carmelo, I feel, has main event potential. Same with Dragunov. Anything that you can do with those guys, I think you have a big setup for those guys to see how they're going to do on the main roster, as opposed to like the great work that they already did in NXT and NXT UK for Dragunov.
Yeah, that's true. You know what I mean? So of course, that's kind of history, like the history restarting. And so and also, like I said, I think Carmelo, definitely had a great sort of send off, if you will. Like in terms of ending his NXT run with his friend turned rival, Trick Williams. And so of course, yeah, definitely. Side note, congratulations to Trick for becoming the NXT champion. So that definitely freed up Dragunov. And matter of fact, I was a
man Trick.
Whoop that Trick, baby. Whoop that Trick. That's my dude. Trick Willie, Trick James.
Yeah, man.
Like, I am a Trick fan. As a matter of fact, I have a shirt from Black Wrestling where it has Trick versus Mello. So it says Black Wrestling like right here, in like a small writing.
Oh yeah,
back. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I posted on social media that day, and so yeah, like I said, it was a phenomenal match, and like I said, it was great. Like I said, of course, it's one of those transitions, like how when Brett lost the Intercontinental title, it propelled him to bigger and better things, right? So that has to happen,
And I think it also gives Trick Williams a chance to shine too. A lot of times where Dragunov and Carmelo, they were the lead dogs for about the last year or so now. Now you have Trick Williams like in the spotlight, let's see how he does. And then of course it's like Dragunov and Carmelo, they're coming up to the big leagues. It is what it is. It's NXT is a great spot. It's a great spot. But if you really want to prove yourself within WWE and then within wrestling, you got to make it on Raw or SmackDown and see how you do when you're up against the Randy Ortons of the world or the Kevin Owens. It's a big test, but I know those two are up to it. And I'm just glad to see that people are getting their opportunities within WWE. It's, the tough part, especially like during the draft time, is you're hoping that people, when they get drafted or they get moved to another show, that there's a plan for them. So that all depends. It all kind of depends on the opportunity and what storylines, and then what your first storyline going into your new situation is going to be too. So we'll see. We got a little taste of Cody and Carmelo, so we can see what's going to happen next after that. But it's going to be interesting. I'm definitely excited to see what happens with the new rosters.
Yeah, definitely. And also, sorry about that. And also another thing as well is, what do you think about Nia going to SmackDown? You think that's going to be add another element to the bloodline? You finally have a woman, opens up the door for that.
I don't know if they're going to do the bloodline with Nia. It would definitely be interesting. I think it would be interesting to see if she had like an enforcer role within the bloodline. Like, say if she took Solo's role, like she was the fixer, she was like the quiet problem solver in a way. I think that would be exciting. We haven't really seen that in WWE in a while. We kind of saw a little bit of it with Rhea Ripley when she was slamming dudes, especially at the beginning of once Judgment Day came together. But it would be kind of nice to see them all together if that's the direction that they're going. But we'll see. We'll see, because I really feel like there's a spot for Naomi there too, if they ever wanted to do that. But they took out her husband, so that would be a little bit awkward too now. So
that'd be definitely super duper weird. But yeah, and the reason why I say that is because I remember there was a video that surfaces online on Twitter where I guess where Jimmy was backstage. This was during the Hall of Fame on SmackDown, and so of course, he was backstage And so of course, and things, Nia walked right, Nia was walking past him, and and of course, she was walking past it. Of course, obviously, they dapped each other up, and so he was asking, Nia, like, what team is he on? What team is she on? Team is she for? Yeet or no Yeet? You know what I mean? For the Uso match, so she was like, no Yeet, Team Jimmy, right? And
Right.
so I was like, it's just like, it only makes sense. Like, how often do you really see them on camera like that, even behind the scenes, off camera on WWE? You know what I mean? Because it's like not often. You know what I mean? And so, and plus, it's not like Nia and Roman really crossed paths like that on screen anyway. I mean, I know that there was a backstage, thing that not, like little heat that Nia had with Roman because of some table spot or something like that. But I mean, it's just like, I feel it feels kind of like, custom made for them to, like, have some type of interaction on screen. I mean, they're cousins anyway. Nia's the oldest one out of them all.
Yeah, right. She let her run it for a minute.
Pretty much, she's older than Roman and the Usos.
It'll be an interesting element just to see how it all plays out. I think the bloodline, they still have members to add. With how large that family is, as we know, how many wrestlers that are either independent or they just coming off of their independent deals, or maybe they've signed with WWE, or maybe they're not, or maybe they haven't yet. It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. I want to see how that progresses too, with Solo in charge of the bloodline, his direction, how the bloodline is going to be focused up under Solo versus under Roman's reign. No pun intended. But it's going to be definitely the story point for SmackDown. I don't see that there's a world that you don't have Cody and Solo in some sort of program within the next few months. I just don't see a world where that doesn't happen. Solo was definitely responsible for Cody not winning at WrestleMania 39. And Solo's almost kind of been in the background for a lot of this stuff. And Solo was a part of WrestleMania 40 in the ending as well, too. So it's a great look for Solo, too. And, Roman's going to be off for a while. I guess he's healing up or just taking time off. But Solo getting that spotlight is a great look for him. And he already made the big move, taking out Jimmy Uso and bringing in Tama Tonga, the MFT. I think that means my family tree. I think.
Like
but
MF tree or something.
Yeah, something like that. MF tree, MF Doom. I don't know, but it is cool, and I'm looking to see what happens coming up.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, because because I was thinking also, like, do you think that the bloodline may, a couple other bloodline questions? Do you think that so do you think they may run the risk of becoming like NWO Junior in terms of like the Wolfpack expansion and all that type of stuff, like NWO Rainbow and all that?
Sorry, that's my son in the background.
Yeah, cool.
I apologize.
No problem.
I hope not. Where the NWO went sideways is when they added too many members. I think once you got past 6, or maybe Eric Bischoff and the Giant, I just think it just went too haywire. There was just too many people, and once you start adding in the Buff Bagwells of the world, and it was a VK Wall Street, and Virgil became Vincent, and I love Scott Norton. Don't get me wrong, Scott Norton's my dude, but like, come on, man. It's just like, you almost had like the NWO B team, even before they had like their own theme song, and before the Wolfpack, there was already like, all right, these are the guys that are going to be taking losses, where the real stars are Hall, Nash, Hogan, Six, the Giant, those guys, before they all started breaking up and going their own way and everything. I think the bloodline still has legs. You still have the Paul Heyman factor of it. Paul Heyman's very smart. Paul Heyman's going to keep that thing focused, keep it on track. And then whenever Roman decides to come back, and I don't even know if it's this year, I don't know for sure. I have no idea about Roman's schedule, if he's planning on being back by SummerSlam or anything like that. But I need to see that play out on screen. What's the dynamic when Roman comes back? Maybe this is all his doing. Maybe he's the hand behind it all. maybe Roman's like, this is what I asked for. And then, and then he become even more ruthless. And then you get like a larger bloodline. Or, the Civil War aspect of it, what we saw a little bit of it last year when the Usos first broke off. And then, basically Jay got a chance to shine on his own show. And, I say he's a solo star, maybe future world champ. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think there's legs to the bloodline storyline if you put Roman back in there. And why wouldn't Roman want a shot at the title as well? Roman was the longest reigning champion in modern times. Why wouldn't he say, okay, you beat me once and you had to bring all your friends to do it? Not saying that Roman did anything by himself, but, wrestling logic, you know what I'm saying? It's like at some point Roman's going to be, no, I want my title back, and then make the story that, that's a story right there too. And you say if they do Cody and Roman straight up or Hell in a Cell, something like that, and Cody beats Roman straight up, we'll see. There's so much that you can play with because there's just so much meat on that bone, and you still have the story, and you're still building up people. You still got the Solos, you got Tama Tonga, who hasn't established himself yet. You got Jimmy Uso when he decides to come back. You have all these different players and all these different elements, and the unnamed Samoans. Who knows, the Jacob Fatus of the world that might be sitting out there, or the Lance Anoa'i, or whoever. I don't know who's coming. Manu, they might bring him back. I don't know. There's so many of them. And we'll see, and there's probably people that are married into the family that are wrestlers that we don't even know about, what's Tonga Loa doing? What's his contract status looking like? So why couldn't he be part of the bloodline? So let's see it all play out. Hikuleo, he's out there,
right.
All these guys are just sitting out there. There's so much meat on that bone still, and I really feel like you can still get another solid year or two out of the bloodline if you want to go that way.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Because as you were talking about it, it's just like, and the thing is, I thought about it, right? Even though he's not in charge no more, but we know that how people like to say, like somebody has a type. Let's just say when it came to wrestling, Vince had a type. It was several types, right? If you're Samoan, if you have muscles, or if you're blonde, people have a way of having more than one type. So Vince had 3 types, and Samoans is definitely one of them, because you can definitely tell that they equal money, no matter where. Even with Triple H in charge, they equal money. So it's like they have the longest family tree. People like Cody's song talk about wrestling as one world family. All right, cool. But the biggest world family, make no mistake about it, is the Anawani family. You know what I mean? Outside the McMahon's Anawani family, then you go with, like I said, then you go with the Harts, the Von Erichs, the Guerreros, this long all the way down the line, whatever. But it ultimately starts with the Anawanis. I don't care what nobody says. They're dynasties.
And then that family, how many main events has that family produced just on their own? The talent that's in that family is ridiculous. And you got to give credit to Roman Reigns. As far as a guy that I didn't think he was the guy. When he was coming up, he looked good. He looked the part and everything, but his presentation was very much Samoan John Cena after he left the Shield, right? So it's just like, you're the superhero. You're going to win all your matches. Or if you lose, it's going to be by some nefarious means, this, that, and the other. Nobody can really whoop you in this whole company, and you're going to carry the company on his back. And he says the right things, and he's smiling and kissing babies, and it just never felt real. It was almost like, man, could somebody just like beat this guy so I don't have to watch him? And it was like, it's nothing personal. Like, I can see the man's talent. Like, I can see that, it's obvious. Like, he's the obvious choice. If you were looking at the Shield and you're saying, okay, between these 3 guys, who's going to be the guy that's going to be the star, right? Roman's the obvious choice. But he had to find his voice. Everybody else, once they broke out of the Shield, they found their own thing. Seth found his own thing. Dean found his own thing. And then Roman was still the Shield, without saying it. He was wearing the vest. He was coming through the crowd and the same
different
moves.
Color linings.
Different color linings. He might get like the blue lining one week or the red the other week.
Neon green.
Same wet hair, and then he was still coming through the crowd for a minute. And it's just like, all right, what's evolved about you as a character and it didn't happen yet, and it had to happen. Basically, it had to happen during COVID. It happened during COVID when he took that time away. When he came back, he was just like, okay, this is going to be a whole different presentation. He could cut his promos without an audience, without people interrupting or saying what or anything like that. So he really got the character work down once he came back. So it's just like when the people came back and we were back out of COVID, fans back in the audience, I think they were ready for Roman Reigns in that presentation, and it carried the company. And look at where they're at now. It's like you can't deny the man his flowers, man. That dude just, even if you're a Roman hater, and I know there's still some out there, but it's just like I don't know how you can be after the run that this man has had. To me, I'm just like, bro, that dude did it. So
yeah, Roman is him. Roman is him.
He's him.
Let's just call it what it is. Because and the funny thing about it is that like the fact that he had to go to that dark side to become the face of the company, that the head of the table, the franchise guy,
right?
And especially when you watch the A&E documentary, that's probably the best one they've had all season.
Oh yes,
that and then Randy Orton, I'll say next to it, right? And the thing is, it gives you a greater glimpse of why Roman became who he became. And the funny thing is, I did a comic book comparison. I tell everybody about it all the time, and I compared Roman to the Injustice version of Superman. Reason why I say that, and I've shared before on this podcast before, and I wrote about it. The reason why I said it is because of the fact that Roman literally has a Superman punch, right? And he was following and seeing his footsteps, right? He was supposed to be Superman Junior 2.0 with him, right? But he had to become. But the thing is, he became bloodthirsty in order and force his own identity, a bloodthirsty imperial leader. You know what I mean? And so, so pretty much like Injustice Superman. If you disagree with him, you're getting disintegrated. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you know what I mean. So like, and the thing is, just like as far as that, you know what I mean. I was, like as far as that, I was like, I could definitely see the parallels. And I know there's certain, and as a matter of fact, I know certain people who finally acknowledged Roman after he lost the title. All right, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I know people who are, certain people that I know of that are fans of heels, but they can't stand, they couldn't stand Roman, right? You know what I mean? Like I said, congratulations, Tears, 300 episodes. But one of their co-hosts, I'm not going to call Janelle by name, who's a big, like I said, she's a big fan of heels. But Roman, she couldn't stand. It wasn't until after Mania they did, everybody acknowledged Roman and and gave him his flowers. But the thing about it is, like, because I think in large part because of the fact that Roman was so forced in the beginning,
right?
That turned a lot of people off.
Sure,
even people who love heels. I think as far as that, it's just like, all right, enough already. Then when he became the tribal chief, it's just like it's pretty much like you cannot deny what like I said, what this dude was capable of. And so and one more question I also meant to ask. As far like when do you like as far as like the Rock versus Roman thing, you think it's gonna be like next year's Mania? You think they're gonna like kick into it like by the time we get to SummerSlam?
It has the potential to go to next year's Mania, and I actually like the fact that it wasn't at this year's Mania. To me, the story wouldn't have made any sense. It was just like, The Rock came back. Yeah, I'm the tribal chief, or you're the tribal chief, this, that, and the other. It really didn't have any meat in the bones because, like, what was the motivation? Why would The Rock be angry that somebody in his family was doing well? You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was just like, to me, the storyline wasn't there. They didn't really have any on-screen conflicts up to that point to get to the point where we're having a match at WrestleMania and it's going to be the main event. And it really didn't make sense at first. Well, like, why would Cody step aside? That really doesn't make sense. I was just like, what is going, and I was almost like, I will sit back, I'll wait and see, that kind of deal. But I was really wondering, like, what were they doing? Like, did they pivot from this was the plan the whole time? And they could go back and say it was, I'm not sure if Daniel Bryan was supposed to win the title at WrestleMania 30, but I also feel like that could have been the plan the whole time. Maybe you're just playing with my emotions, that whole thing. Yeah. But I just think that there was just a built-in storyline with Cody Rhodes and Roman this year. So if you ever wanted to do Rock and Roman, give it some storyline to get there. So in that match, you know how Roman spears the Rock, and then they have that moment where Rock's like looking like he got shot in the stomach or something like that, and Roman's got the shock face. He's like, "What? What?" And Rock's like, "Ah!" He's like dying inside. And then the ending sequence, Roman's got Cody dead to rights, but then Rock wants to tag to finish him off himself. You know what I'm saying? So then he got like some elements to play with, and then the whole thing with the title, where okay, it's bloodline rules. You have the match set up for yourself, right, to win this match. Rock comes out, and then Undertaker surprises him, and then he's nowhere to be found. And then it's, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, you got something. It was like, all right, you tried to steal the spotlight from Roman Reigns. You tried to do this. You tried to do this. And then you tried to, the reason why I'm not champion is because of you. Basically, you were a big distraction, something, right? So, okay, now you have a storyline or at least something to build off of going into next year, if that's the route that they're going to go. You can like tease out this little stuff going on. You figure Roman's got to come back into play to like get another shot at the title somewhere along the line. Who knows if The Rock will be a part of that, or if The Rock interjects or does something where it's like, well, I'm getting the shot at the title or whatever. I'm the one that pinned Cody at WrestleMania. You didn't. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you have something to play with here. And I really feel that at some point, make that the story, and then make it either Rock is jealous of Roman because Roman did something that he couldn't do, or Roman is having issues because Rock is taking the spotlight. There's a story right there. And again, you have Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman can like tell this story for you if neither of them are on TV, So you have these big elements at play. You have main event potential, obviously, between those two, and that's the match. And I think anybody wanted to see that match. I just don't think people wanted to see it this year because it was Cody's year. It was definitely Cody's year. So, but next year I can see it happening.
Yes, especially hopefully if it's in Vegas as well.
Wherever WrestleMania might be.
Even if it's in Minnesota.
I'll
fly to Minnesota. I don't care. If the only attractions are the Mall in America and Paisley Park, I will go to Minnesota.
Right.
See Rock versus Roman. I don't care. But like I said, side note, once again, I want to say congratulations, Drop of Tears, friends of the program, 300 amazing episodes. But yeah, like I said, other than that, bravo.
Congratulations, Drop of Tears.
Great
right.
Group. That's right, friends of the program. But yeah, anyway, like I said, as far as Rock versus Roman, I mean that's a storybook right there. And it's just like, and I think a big thing is, the Cody, the backlash from the Cody fans, the internet backlash. It's just like the way that they were just flooding and trolling WWE's timeline and everything like that. Even the WWE shop, it's like WWE had they had their hands tied. It's like there's nothing else we can do at this point. Much like the Daniel Bryan backlash, because it was originally going to be Randy Orton versus Batista just 1-on-1 at WrestleMania 30. But yeah, exactly. Like
right.
Nobody was looking to see that.
I didn't.
No, I know I wasn't, right? And but the thing is, the way things work together, it's funny how CM Punk is a common denominator in so much of this stuff, right? Because think about it like this. When Punk walked out, the door opened for Daniel Bryan. And also, especially with the way the fans hijacked Raw and stuff like that, especially because Bryan, I think he wasn't even in the Royal Rumble or whatever, right? And that was when Batista won, and so of course, like I said, the fan outrage with that is that they're already jaded and furious that Punk wasn't there no more, right? And so and the thing is, like, Punk was gonna have a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. He was like, nah, I don't want that. So Daniel Bryan ends up getting that very match with Triple H. And then the stipulation was, I'm putting this all together, right? I'm putting this all together. Anyway, the thing is, Daniel Bryan wins the match against Triple H in the opening. That was the opening match. And so the stipulation was, if Bryan won the opening match with Triple H, he would go on to be a part of to be in the triple threat with Orton and Batista. Bryan beats Triple H, and he's in the main event. Who know in the main event and we get what we got. Yes Mania, right? So who knows if that may have been in the cards for Punk had things not gone so sour with him WWE at the time. Who knows? The Punk versus Triple H match could have opened the door for him to be in the main event with Batista and Orton. But Daniel Bryan ends up being in that place. So Punk is like a butterfly effect because the fact that had he not gotten injured, it could have been him versus Seth Rollins in the main event or whatever. We could have had, him, Seth, and Cody, whatever, triple threat, Rock versus Roman. Who knows? But the thing is, it's funny how Punk is so much of a common thread in both of these in 10 years apart.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it was just like for me, the give maybe let's not say giveaway, but the fact that they were almost teasing us with Cody and Roman throughout the year. I went back recently and watched that YouTube clip when I think Cody was on SmackDown. He was like either defending the tag titles with Jey Uso, and then while they're walking back to the ramp, Roman and Solo and the Bloodline, they come walking out. They had a little stare down. They don't touch, but they got that little stare down.
Yeah,
it's like okay, all right, I'm seeing something here. And then the Royal Rumble, like if Cody didn't win the Royal Rumble, I wouldn't think anything of it. But Cody wins the Rumble.
Yeah.
And then Roman's sitting up in the skybox and he's doing a thing where he's pointing right at him and everything. And I'm like, okay, like I'm getting hype at this point. I'm like, let's go. We're going to do it. So it was just like, okay, this is the moment. It's like, it's definitely happening. And then when it was like going in a different direction, at first I was like, what? But again, it's almost like with WWE, it's like you almost have to let the story play out. And I think us on the internet, people on the internet, people in the wrestling groups or whatever, whether it's DMV or whoever, Jobberteers, all the wrestling groups that are out there where people are discussing wrestling, like, basically 24/7. You never know. That's the thing. It's like you never know. And I feel like with WWE, there's always a bigger picture. I think that for the most part in the Paul Levesque era, he gets a long-term story. He gets a long-term story right, especially the big one. The long-term story pays off in the end at some point. And there's little details along the way, if you're paying attention, that, it'll pay off in the long run. There's little Easter eggs in some of the background scenes, like we may have seen on Raw, or even with the little teases with the I guess it's the Wyatt family. I'm not sure, but there's little things about each show that, okay, I can take a little bit from here. They're showing me something here right now that's going to pay off. And it feels more episodic now than it used to, where storylines would get dropped for whatever reason. Somebody put you out for injury on the shelf, and then they're drafted to another show, and then you never see that feud ever happen. And it was just like basically because whoever was in charge probably forgot about it or didn't think long-term about the thing. And it's just like, I think they're doing a much better job now of telling the long-term story. So that's why when things are happening in the short term, I can't say definitively, okay, they're doing this now for WrestleMania or they're doing this for SummerSlam. I don't know. But it makes me watch the show with a little bit more enjoyment, that I'm not having my intelligence insulted either. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, same here. You know what I mean? And at least a couple of. It's funny thing that you mentioned as far as injury, especially I was blown when Rhea got that freak injury when left through into that wall. It's like, of all the ways to get it to lose,
right?
I was like,
man, yeah.
I was like so anticlimactic. I was like,
I know she was on a run too, man.
Yeah.
And it's like we were watching Raw the other night, and it's like, man, I miss her. Just her presence. Whether it's hanging with Judgment Day or in her own matches or her own programs, she's a big star. And not having her on the show, like, she's definitely missed on the show.
I was like, why? No, why? That's how I felt like, and it feels like a hard reset now that these long title reigns are over. Roman, Gunther, hers, I think Seth had the belt for like 316 days or something like that.
Sure.
But
sure, yeah.
So it's just like, this is like this whole new era, like there's a reset when it comes to these long title reigns ending. But a couple of things I also wanted to ask, before whenever's your time, whatever, anything. I have a couple of things as far as like the WWE 2K. I don't know if you got it, but some of the ratings on 2K24.
Okay.
And because I noticed, because I'm playing the 40-year showcase right now. I'm on WrestleMania 17. I gotta go back to 13 and finish out a couple of objectives that I missed.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I just finished that match. And I was like, man, there's like 2 of them I realized I just missed. But I was looking at the ratings, right? As I finished WrestleMania 10, I unlocked Shawn Michaels. Tell me why does the Prime HBK has a rating of 85, but Logan Paul has a higher rating than him. Jey Uso has a higher rating than I was. Wow. On 2K14, this dude had a 93 and I still beat him.
Okay. So did you get the which version had all the wrestlers unlocked and everything? Do you have that one, or did you get the regular one?
I got the regular one.
I got the regular one also. And in the WrestleMania showcase, I think I'm at about WrestleMania maybe 13. I think I just finished 13.
Oh wow. Same level.
Yeah, but Shawn Michaels in 94, I think Shawn Michaels in 94 should at least be like an 87 or 88. You said what? Logan Paul has a what? An 88? A 90?
Yes.
He
has a higher rating than Kurt Angle.
No, maybe they're just maybe that was because of the Prime deal. Mm-hmm. Like maybe they got some sort of some advertisement credit or something like that, and say, hey, look, man, we're gonna bump your rating. Come do some more shows and do some more cross promotion. Maybe we can help each other out here or something like that. I don't know. I think Logan Paul's good at what he does. I don't know if he's a 90 though. I'd give him like an 83, 84. I think that's more accurate. He is the U.S. champ, you know what I'm saying? And he hasn't lost since he's been U.S. champ. Yeah. And he beat Kevin Owens and Randy Orton at WrestleMania.
He did. I give him that much. You know what I mean? But it's just like, dude, we're talking about Shawn Michaels.
It is. Shawn Michaels. But see, Shawn Michaels, I would say like Shawn Michaels 96 should probably have the highest rating. Mm-hmm. But then Shawn Michaels, when he came back too, I think Shawn Michaels was better after the back injury. Once he came back, he just hit like another level, at least for me.
Yeah.
Just as far as his matches picked up and the whole Mr. WrestleMania moniker and everything. So I haven't unlocked that Shawn Michaels yet. I think he's in the game, right?
He is. Matter of fact, like the ones the later Shawns that you unlock, WrestleMania 21 with Kurt Angle.
Right.
And that's like 88, I think, or 89. And then WrestleMania 20, yeah. And then WrestleMania 25 against Undertaker. That's later down the line. I'm like,
he's got to be in the 90s, right?
I think 25 is like a 94. I want to say WrestleMania 25 Shawn.
That's the best match I ever saw in my life. Me too. That's the best match. Yeah, maybe they were just trying to be generous. They're saying like, maybe Shawn Michaels gets better over time. But yeah, Shawn Michaels, like you weren't messing with Shawn Michaels once he came back. Once he got the Mr. WrestleMania title, especially that match with Kurt. That match with Kurt was amazing too. I was in college when that match happened, and we were at a bar in Georgia, right outside of Atlanta, watching that one, right?
Right.
And I think that one ends in tap out. I think the whole entire room was like rooting for Kurt in that moment, like everyone's like hitting the table, when he's in the ankle lock and he's got the leg grapevine and everything too. Shawn Michaels just has so many classics. He has so many classics on big stages too. And even beyond like the WrestleManias and everything, his performances in the Royal Rumble back in 95 and 96, and even the one against even the one where him and Undertaker came in, I think that was 2007.
Yeah.
That was a teaser to WrestleMania 25 in some ways, because I looked at that, I was just like, man, they should have a WrestleMania match after how that Rumble ended, and then it happened 2 years later. But yeah, man, Shawn Michaels is probably, in my opinion, I think he's the best overall. If you're looking all time, just like, I'm not saying he was ever the biggest draw,
right?
But in terms of what a wrestler is and getting it and understanding like the evolution of wrestling and him changing with the times from tag team specialist to singles guy to top of the card. Even if he wasn't champion, he was still the best match or the main event, so to speak, right? He's that guy. He's that guy. Shawn Michaels, man.
Yeah. Hey, look, man. Let me say. As a matter of fact, speaking of Shawn, I got something right here.
All right.
Right back. Got this bad boy. Off Michelin Ness. Check this one out right here. WrestleMania 10. I saw this on it was on WWE Shop, but they ran out of large. So I was like, let me go on Michelin Ness. They have plenty of them, right? And so since in this Rock shirt, by the way, the Rock's birthday's tomorrow. Side note, for those that listen.
It's May 2nd, right? Oh, wow.
May 2nd. That's right.
Yep.
May 2nd, and of course, one of the Public Enemies podcast members, his birthday's the day after that. So anyway, like I said, this is Mitchell and Ness. By the way, side note, shout out to Grant from Public Enemies. His birthday's on May 3rd. Anyway, like I said, Mitchell and Ness right here, courtesy of that. And so I was like, all right, and I got this. This was especially at the Superstore Fan Access.
Right.
On one, like I said, obviously you see I ordered it online, but yeah, like I said, Shawn Michaels. Like I said, we don't do Shawn Michaels slander on this podcast. If you got something to say about it, you can argue. You can argue with the wall. You know what I mean? Because you ain't getting it from me.
And check this out. I'm a Bret guy. Like, if you ask me, like, who's my favorite wrestler, it's Bret Hart. But I still think Shawn Michaels is the best ever. Yeah. And that's coming from someone that loves Bret. And I love Bret. Bret's my dude.
Both of them.
And
you know what I mean?
I'm just like, it's Shawn. It's Shawn.
That's what it is, man. Seriously. Like I said, this is zero slander for Bret and Shawn on this podcast whatsoever. I'm just giving the heads up right now. Zero tolerance. Anyway, also wanted to ask as well. Like, what'd you think about what was I going to say? I don't know if you kept a little comic news, miscellaneous stuff outside of WWE. Your thoughts on X-Men 97 so far? Have you seen it?
You know what? And I'm going to sound like the worst comic book fan. I have not seen it yet.
Oh man.
I've seen the intro and I've seen a couple memes and a couple things, and it's like I'm planning on watching it. Okay. But I haven't watched it yet, unfortunately. I know it's dope. I already know it's dope, but I just haven't had the time yet. But I'm looking for that time. I just haven't had the time to go sit down and watch it yet.
Oh yeah.
What about you? What do you feel so far?
Oh, I'm already like 8 episodes in, and it's been phenomenal. Even at start of the show, I was like, I watch each episode, like even in my own spare time, just so I wouldn't get hit with spoilers. But yeah, it is really, the thing is, because we both grew up on the original X-Men cartoon, right? So it's written for those kids that grew up on it and now they're adults. So it's specifically written for our generation now that we've grown up. And so that's really what. So this kids today, they would have no clue. They would have no clue about Wolverine, Gambit, Cyclops, any of them. But yeah, like I said, X-Men 97. Like I said, I highly recommend it. That's all I gotta say. If you have Disney Plus, like I said, make sure you get the subscription for nothing else.
I do have Disney Plus. I don't like what they've done to my subscription rates though. They keep climbing, and it's just like, so now I'm at the point where I've got Disney Plus that has the commercials because I'm giving them too much money. It's like, because I would buy it for a year in the original plan, I would just buy it out for a year. And I remember they were raising the rates last year. I think it was like another like $10 or $20 or something. And I was able to get the good rate for one more year up until I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months ago when it switched over, and it's like now I go month to month, but I'm doing the cheapest plan now. And I just have to suffer through the commercials now because it's like, say Hulu's doing it, same with Peacock. I know Netflix is the prices kept going up. I haven't switched over my Netflix to drop the price yet either, but I don't know, man. I'm gonna be watching commercials because this stuff is expensive, man. And it's like you thought you were saving money streaming, and now it's coming up. It's just like, okay, yeah, you're still spending less than you would, but it's just like, every little bit is starting to creep up, and it's looking more and more like cable each day, So cutting the cord isn't as cheap as it was, So now I'm like, yeah, something's got to go, but We got that little family plan, between I'm so glad that my sister has Prime. So
look, I put it this way. Because even on PS5, right? You could still, get the app for Disney Plus, or even like for Amazon, Prime and Netflix and stuff. So it's just like, whatever I don't have on my phone, I just get on just watch on PS5. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the song goes, like Luther Vandross and Stevie also said, why must it be you always creep?
Mhm.
So it's just like the prices keep creeping up. You know what I mean? And
Right.
just like hiking up. Like, come on now. It's especially if you want to be fiscally responsible. You know what I mean? Us as being adults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As responsible as we can be. Because something called real life, right?
There's a great episode of South Park, and they were like, making fun of the streaming wars. And that's one episode I would definitely recommend. I think it's on Paramount.
Mhm.
And it could be called Streaming Wars or something like that. And it's just like, how early on, like when streaming first started, the quality was super high on everything. And then as more streaming, as more companies kind of, came into the streaming game, it became more cluttered, and the fact that the stream wasn't as good anymore and everything was kind of messing up, and the quality of the stream had kind of fallen off a little bit. But it's a very funny episode. I think South Park does still a good job with current events and making fun of stuff. But there's so much stuff out there now too, and it's almost like I need a few days, not even just like a day. I need a few days to just stop what I'm doing and just catch up on all the stuff that I haven't seen, because it's about like a solid 6 months to a year where I just haven't like sat down and like really got into a series. Or I mean, Stranger Things was 2 years ago. And I just finished that one like not too long ago. So I'm behind on stuff too. And I'm waiting for Stranger Things to come back. And I'm like, come on, those kids are getting so old now.
Yeah,
So
like it's at this point they get ready for college and all that type of
they're
stuff.
adults.
Adults now. That's what I'm saying.
They're adults
Full-fledged
in real
official
life.
adults. Like, come on now. You can't be like doing these like Goonies adventures forever. You know what I mean? It's time to have the show to develop and meet them where they are, right? And so it's just like, come on now. It's just like, I know Steve. Ain't nobody Steve's still working at the video store no more. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So
Like
the writer's strike, like the writer's strike definitely played a part in it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and you start looking up the bios of like the actors that are playing the kids, and like you're seeing like, oh, they're like 21 and 22 now, and I'm like, huh. And then they're playing high school kids, but they look old. Like that last season, like they look grown. And I'm like, okay, like we're getting to that point, and then you look back to season 1 where they're really kids, and it's just like, man, there's been a lot of time since season 1. I guess that was that season 4, the one that just passed?
Yes,
that 5?
Season 4 was the one was the one that just passed. That
Right.
was the one that just passed.
Right.
That was in 19. The story takes place in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
So by this point, we should be going to like 1987, 88.
Right.
I would say at least cut off the show in the 80s.
Right. They're gonna be in like 1994 by the time they're done.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, come on now, like just get it over with. You know what I mean? But another thing I wanted to ask you, one more thing. What did you think about the couple other things? What did you think about the Kendrick? I don't know if you heard about the Kendrick and Drake, thing going as far as Kendrick's latest release.
All I'm gonna say about that, and this is where I feel like Drake has made himself into the bad guy for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like his last few albums where he's talking about people or doing subtle nods and disses and everything. And then Kendrick was just like, you know what? Let me just end this now. Because I'm sure Drake's working on something right now. But I think in terms of lyrical flow, I think Kendrick's probably the best out of his generation. I'm not really a J. Cole fan. I don't dislike J. Cole. I respect him as an artist. But as far as like people that I want to listen to, I like Kendrick a lot better than those guys. And Drake, I feel like Drake's got a lot of good party music, but he's not a battle rapper. He beat Meek Mill that one time, but I just think I think Kendrick's in a whole different class of rapper. Yeah. How about you? What is your take on it all?
Yeah, so I'm Team Kendrick in that aspect. It's just like
Right.
even when I listen to the everybody was talking about it online, right? You know, like the Kendrick diss and stuff like that. It's all over Facebook and Instagram timeline, right? And so somebody else was like, you know, Kendrick chose murder. I was like, all right, let me just go and look up, let me just look up the song. Just look up Kendrick Lamar on iTunes, right? So it says Euphoria, and so so of course as soon as I play it, I noticed they do the Teddy Pendergrass sample in the background, right? And then after that, he chose murder. He just chose violence. Because here's the thing about it: be mindful of the samples that people use. You know, you know, like I said, the smoother the sample, the more ruthless you become. You know, and so I was like, all right, cool. And then because like I said, it's real subtle, and then all of a sudden, like I said, Kendrick is just taking off names. He's taking off names like the Candyman or something, right? And you know what I mean? It's just like, just keep this dude's name out of your mouth. He's minding his business. He's minding his business. And so y'all just keep triggering the bear, keep poking the bear. And you know what I mean? And so all of a sudden, you know, as soon as he wakes up, turns into Wolverine, you know, now y'all want to, you know, cry wolf, but it's just like, and then, you know, Drake wants to use AI Tupac or something like that. I'm like, it obviously look how that turned out. And so like, and the thing about it is that when it comes to battle rap, Drake, I was, you know, yeah, you beat Meek Mill. Wow, what the freaking do? Big freaking deal, right? But Kendrick's a whole nother beast altogether. You know what I mean? Kendrick is in a whole nother league of his own. It's like this. People online were saying what's the wrestling equivalent of this Kendrick and Drake beat, right? They had like Farouk and Ahmed Johnson, or like Punk yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, Farouk was Kendrick and Ahmed was Drake. And so, or like Punk and Cena, you know, Punk Kendrick, Cena's Drake, you know what I mean? Or even Orton versus Cena, whatever, right?
I saw it was the wrestling equivalent was Goldberg and Bret Hart.
Oh yeah,
and I was like, oh man,
Bret would be Kendrick. Bret is Kendrick.
Yeah. You know, you didn't see it coming.
Definitely. I would say for me, I probably even like Austin the Rock. Austin would be Kendrick, and yeah. You know what I mean? Because especially when it came to the WrestleMania matches, he was definitely on his Kendrick status. And I'm playing WrestleMania. I'm on WrestleMania 17 as we speak. But yeah, he definitely went.
Like when he got the chair, right? Is what
Yeah, absolutely. And like yesterday when I was coming from the gym, I started playing it. So I'm driving around. I started laughing as I'm driving as I'm listening to this.
Right.
I was like, Drake Aubrey don't know what he did. You know what I mean?
I like Drake. You know, I like him. I respect him as an artist too. It's like I think he's decent, but it's just like you ain't trying to battle, man. Like Kendrick, like you know, like, not with Kendrick. You know what I mean? It's like you might be able to fool around with some of these other folks, man, but Kendrick gonna get you, bro.
Like, Kendrick broke, like I said, you know, brought that Cali out of him. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean?
He's a different beast.
Yeah, you know what I mean. This dude, he grew up off of NWA, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube. So Tupac. He grew up off of that. He's literally a product of that. You know what I mean? So it's just like when you have that, it's just a whole different element to who you are. You know what I mean? Guys like him, rest in peace, Nipsey, YG. They're all from that ilk, all from that cut from that cloth. So you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like you don't know what you're stepping into, you know, when it comes to a guy like Kendrick. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So like if you want, you know, like I said, you play silly games, you win silly prizes. So Drake likes,
especially when the gloves come off, it's like, come on.
Oh
bro.
man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So yeah, this ain't Degrassi, you know what I mean? So it's just like, dude, it's over. It's over. You know what I mean? King Kendrick over here. So yeah, so like I said, it's been a pleasure. I want hold the rest of your time. So if you want to let everybody know where they can find you, you know what I mean, as far as like things that you're doing as well.
I appreciate it, man. Hey, man, everybody can find me. All my socials are the same. It's at DJG Mills on formerly Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, on Instagram, at Facebook.com/DJG Mills is where you can find me for all my DJ, all my music stuff going on. DMV wrestling fans, where you can find us, the whole wrestling communication and everything. We have a pay-per-view that we're going to be watching. We're going to get together for Backlash Saturday at Sud House on at 12 noon. The PLE starts at 1 p.m. and we have happy hour pricing for the whole event. It's going to be a good time. It's the first time that we've done a PLE event since COVID, so we haven't done one where we tried to like organize it ourselves. We've gone to stuff, this, that, and the other. And we saw some other folks trying to do something. We're actually going to try and bring back live pay-per-views and try to get together again. It's tough. It's kind of hard now just because of how accessible things are, but we're going to give it a shot and see how it works out. And I think for the PLEs, especially the ones that are happening during the day, I think that's going to be the focus and try and get those, because you're not competing with the Saturday night traffic in some of these bars, especially on U Street. And that's where Sud House is. It's right in the U Street corridor, right off the Green Line. So if you're traveling in, come check us out at Sud House. We're going to be there having a good time, having a drink, having some food, and watching some wrestling and enjoying the pay-per-view, or PLE as we call them now, for WWE. And for Backlash, man, Backlash is it's a classic, and it's in the afternoon, so you can go out, do your afternoon thing, watch some wrestling, and then still have your night to play with. So that's what we got going on so far.
Man, absolutely. Thank you for, like I said, of course you heard from him. So of course, all about putting the DMV wrestling scene further on the map. You know what I mean? It's like, everybody else can do their thing as far as like places like New York and Philly. Why not us? You know what I mean? So I believe that we
and
capability as well.
And the funny thing was, we were for such a long time, and just we got smacked by COVID, and then the bar that we were watching the wrestling events at closed down.
Green Turtle.
So this was all of them actually. So like Bailey's closed years ago, but Summers was the most recent one, and they were showing AEW pay-per-views too. So there was like a following there. So now it's basically we got to build up from scratch and then see see if anything catches on. So we're really hoping that this works out really well, and then if it does, we'll try and keep doing some more and more, and then we'll go from there. We'll see how we do.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. You know what I mean? It's of course, like I said, and Greg, I greatly appreciate you coming on. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor for you to for you to be a part of this, to be a guest on this podcast. You know what I mean? Because I know you've been asking me, and I was like, I'm gonna keep my word and make sure that you go, make sure that you know.
It's been tough recently just because of just catching up after Mania too. Yeah. It's like after Mania is like, I hadn't seen my family for a few days. So it's like, okay, I gotta like reset my life. And then last week, the whole work situation, and we had been talking, this isn't even like the last few weeks. We've been talking for months, ever since you started up the podcast. Just want to let you know that I'm definitely proud of you, seeing where your journey and where you traveled and everything, and to see you build up, and just like seeing us do stuff. And I want to do something too, but then again, it's just like the time, family versus DJ and this, that, and the other. But it's like just start something, and then if I start guesting, I'll start putting myself out there more and get comfortable in front of this microphone, and then we'll just go from there, and see what happens. But I appreciate you having me on, man. Definitely, man. And just like anything that you need, or just hit me up, and I appreciate the hospitality in Philly too. You looked out for me when I needed to ride back to the hotel. So
hey, man, come on now, seriously,
much appreciated, man.
Hey, hey, man, it's no problem. There's a reason why I drove all the way to as a matter of fact, I was coming off work that night. And so I was really driving. No, the crazy thing is I was really driving because, full disclosure, like I said, last little story. My hotel was actually over South Jersey, over Voorhees, wherever that part is. And so
right.
So I ended up take a little rest stop or whatever. And so it took me a little bit longer to get to where I was. So I had to check in, and and I'd stop over my hotel, check in. Change my clothes real quick, and then then I ended up going over to Wally Mania. So I came up later than I normally would, but like I said, it all turned out great. So like I said, I had no problem. I had a great time doing it, and So like I said, I appreciate like I said, with your hospitality as well, and you know what I mean. And so it's just like that's what we're here for ultimately at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So
man.
yes, so like I said, like I said, it's been an honor. It's been a pleasure, have you on as a friend, as a guest, and so of course, just wishing nothing but the best, and look forward to, like I said, look forward to more of these connections and events in the future.
All right, brother. I appreciate it, man.
All right, then. Later.
Later, man.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great night.